Being America's close ally is a bit like having a very rich friend. Doors open that would otherwise stay shut. You get invited to the rooms where decisions are made, and people listen to you because they know you're connected. But every so often, your friend will ask for a favour, and you know that saying yes will make you very unpopular with the others. That's the bargain. It's never been equal, and it's never been free. That uncomfortable truth has been exposed again after the United States launched Operation Epic Fury, its latest campaign against Iran over the weekend. America already has an enormous footprint across the Middle East. Facilities in Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Kuwait, the UAE and Iraq, and has surged major naval power into the region, including 2 carrier strike groups, the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford. Even so, President Trump wanted something specific from Britain: access and the symbolism of solidarity. Washington asked for the permissions it would assume were routine in a serious alliance, the use of RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire, and the naval support facility at Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands. Still technically part of the British Indian Ocean Territory, though currently being prepared for a handover to Mauritius, 1,300 miles away. Whatever one thinks about the Chagos deal, the timing could not be worse. You don't usually give away strategic real estate at the precise moment the Americans may need it most. And then came the shock. Initially and extraordinarily, the British government said no. So Keir Starmer, guided by the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, the legal conscience of the liberal international order, was reportedly anxious that American strikes might not be compatible with international law, and that the UK should not insist or bet them. It was the sort of posture that plays well at home among loyalty types and NGO circles, but risks looking like moral vanity when missiles are flying and allies are absorbing hits. If Starmer has learned anything in Downing Street, it is that geopolitics does not wait for a QC's opinion. The Trump administration was predictably furious, but the deeper damage may have been regional. Gulf states facing Iranian drones and missiles were unimpressed by Britain's squeamishness. There was a sense the UK had brought a pen to a gunfight, and then tried to argue the pen was still a weapon. Within hours, Starmer reversed course. On Sunday, he issued a statement granting the US permission to use joint and British bases for what he called a specific and limited defensive purpose: destroying Iranian missiles at source, in storage depots, or on the launchers used to fire them. Conveniently, this was now said to be in accordance with international law. Yet, Starmer insisted Britain was not joining these strikes, would not take part in offensive action, and was only continuing defensive operations in the region. This is the kind of distinction that makes sense in a Westminster briefing and collapses in the real world. Tehran is unlikely to squint at the fine print and conclude the UK is merely providing defensive enabling. To Iran, a base is a base. Permission is permission, and an ally that facilitates strikes, even selectively, is part of the machine. Trump, unsurprisingly, was not fully placated. He reportedly felt permission took far too long and voiced disappointment. Starmer must understand the president's temperament, thin-skinned about perceived slights, quick to nurse grievances and utterly uninterested in being lectured about procedure by a partner it considers junior. One of the costs of dependency is that the senior partner expects loyalty, not agonised moral choreography. Supporters of Starmer's initial refusal argue full alignment would have increased the risk of Iranian retaliation against Britain and British citizens. They point to Iranian drone attacks on RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus after the UK granted even limited permission. But this is naive in 2 ways. First, the reported timing suggests at least some hostile action was already in motion before Britain's change of stance. Second, it assumes Iran views Britain as a neutral party until proven otherwise. It does not. Iran has long treated Britain as functionally joined to the US, cheerleaders for the great Satan at best, and in the imagination of hostile regimes, sometimes the hidden hand behind Western policy. Tehran still carries historical grievances, including the 1953 coup against Mohammad Mossadegh, in which Britain played a central role. We may wish to believe we can hover above a conflict through legalistic abstention. Our adversaries do not indulge that fantasy. So Starmer's agonised legalism achieved the worst of both worlds. It irritated America and reassured Iran of nothing. In trying to look prudent, he looked hesitant. In trying to look principled, he looked unreliable. and now he's attempting to navigate an escalating confrontation by explaining the difference between offensive and defensive participation, as if a missile cares what label you give the runway it took off from. Now, Starmer said, "We all remember the mistakes of Iraq, and that lessons have been learned." Fine, but one lesson of Iraq is not that the alliances are optional when they become inconvenient. Another is that credibility matters, and credibility is made of decisions taken quickly, clearly, and without tortuous self-justification. Britain is not obliged to grant America access to its bases without conditions. But in a serious alliance, the presumption should be strongly in favour. Because if you want the benefits of being America's closest partner, you don't get to act surprised when America asks you to act like it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want more honest political commentary and don't want to miss what's really happening behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments below.